All right, welcome to another episode of Canucks Chatter podcast. We're doing this intro twice here because we had some connection issues. But yeah, again, I'm Rafal. That's Victor. Follow us. We upload every episode of the Canucks Chatter on YouTube. That's where you can check every episode. We're also on X social media platform, so follow us there and subscribe. Yeah, any kind of support we can get as small content creators helps. Yeah, so let's get into the Canucks. Um, they're not doing too well,
Nope.
but it was a
As
long shot anyway. We know they're not going to make the playoffs now, but
yeah, as Chris Conti on Twitter said, they've got to win 14 games out of the last 5. They should be good.
yeah,
Other than that, no. Should, other than that, I think they're in trouble.
yeah, definitely in trouble. I mean, it's I don't even know if it's trouble. It's not really attainable here. I mean, St. Louis went on a crazy heater, 12-game win streak now, just never stops winning.
They're never going to lose again. They're going
You
to
know,
win the Stanley Cup once a second time, going on a incredible run.
You're gonna win 16 playoff games in a row, win the cup, first time ever to sweep every series.
At this point, I'm not going to doubt that.
No, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose at some point.
At least the Canucks season, the burial plot has been it's been dug up, and the Undertaker has already thrown dirt on it. He's almost finished with that six feet of dirt. There's only a little bit left.
Yeah. I mean, it's they're not gonna make the playoffs. We can say that comfortably here. It's nobody really expected, myself included, for St. Louis to go on such a tear. Because if they don't, then maybe Vancouver kind of lingers and still has a chance here with 5 games remaining. But that's been put to bed. Minnesota
People in
is
St. Louis was expecting them to go on this much of a run.
No, I mean it's we were talking earlier, like there's almost it's not the same thing, but it's shades of them in 2019 where
Yeah,
they're at bottom of the league and
yeah.
they go on these crazy win streaks and bam, they're make the playoffs and we know what happens, they win a cup. Here it sort of seems like they just like credit to them, they kept their players at the trade deadline where they were not in a playoff spot and they said, hey, we're going to keep Braden Shen, we're going to keep some of these guys that their names were popping up in trade talk, and those guys have been pretty big in this,
Yeah.
12-game win streak for them.
They've done everything right. Jim Montgomery has touched all the right buttons. He gets fired from one job and now might win a Stanley Cup at another team. All in the same season.
I don't know. I still don't know if St. Louis matches that strongly up against some of the other what we would say contender teams. I wouldn't call St. Louis a contender, but I don't think they're an easy out.
I'm considering them a contender right now. They've got all the right spots hitting.
They're getting hot.
Not even
right
peaking it, and they don't even have their best defenseman. Colton Perico's been out for a few weeks now.
But you do wonder with all this winning and 12-game win streak, if eventually that kind of starts to slide, right? Because look, there's no team that can just win forever. Eventually, there's a plateau, and you kind of go down.
In 2019 about them.
True, but I mean the playoffs is going to be different.
Keep this up.
No, I mean it's
you can't. Yeah, they said the same thing. Oh, they can't keep this up in the playoffs.
Well, I mean they went to a couple game sevens, right? Like it's anything could happen, but they're getting hot at the right time. If you want to do well at a point in the season, you'd prefer it to be towards the end and kind of get your game going because we've seen it before. Momentum really does carry over in the playoffs.
And at this point, they're going to avoid the Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg trifecta.
Yeah,
they're going.
Looks like it. We'll see.
Not that the Vegas, Edmonton, LA is much easier, but I'd rather go through the Pacific Division side than the Central side.
Vegas is going to be a tough one. I mean, that's just such a well-rounded team that it's just 4 lines, really big D. It's just
mobile. Yeah. They can move the puck out.
Yeah.
After watching that game last night against the Canucks, who kept pace with them for pretty much most of the game, but
yeah,
they just come at you in waves, and especially when they get good goaltending from Aiden Hill. Like last night's game, Canucks would get into the zone and lose the puck, not even off a turnover, just get taken away, and all of a sudden Vegas is there. And
Yeah.
thankfully Kevin did his best. He was really good last night,
Hmm.
kept the team in it. And but Vegas just showed their muscle, and they've been doing that all year. And the game I went to go see them in Vegas, oof, wow, they just dominated. They were just like pushing Jersey around, and that's when
Hmm.
Jersey still had the had Jack Hughes in. Mm, just looked impressed. Vegas is impressive, and they
Yeah.
proved it again last night against an underhanded Canucks team.
Well, Vegas is just the way they're constructed, like that's a playoff type style team. They're big, they're heavy, we've seen
Skilled,
yeah, they've also got skill, of course, but I mean like there's certain
they're
teams that have
fast.
skill, but in the playoffs when all those extra space is tightened up, that skill can't really shine through and you don't they hit a wall. And Vegas, a team like Vegas or Florida or you know I mean, take your pick. There's a few of them. They can play that playoff heavy type of style, score goals, and just kind of have everything. So there's no weak point, which I think will still be, you know, I don't know. If I was a team, I mean, whether St. Louis or Minnesota, I don't even know who I'd pick. Would I want to face Winnipeg or Vegas? That's a
Neither.
neither, of
I
course. But if you have to pick, I don't know. I would be like, oh, I don't want to.
I kind
I
of
want
would
to face
rather
Winnipeg.
play Winnipeg.
Yeah, same. I think so because like we've seen they're always a good team every year, but the playoffs they just haven't been
Yeah,
able to.
but I don't want to go through that. If I'm a team, I don't want to
Yeah,
go through that Central because
for
playing
sure.
Colorado and Dallas, ugh. I'd rather
Yeah,
take my chances playing
LA or Edmonton. Yeah.
Edmonton. Yeah, Edmon- Edmonton. We all know what their weakness is.
Hmm.
All
And
you
with
gotta
the
just
injuries
do
and
is
all that
shoot the
too.
puck. Yeah,
Yeah,
not crying about Edmonton struggling. I'm okay with that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, they're still 6-3-1 in the last 10. It doesn't feel like it.
well, and you got Draisaitl still there.
Yeah,
You Even though he missed a couple games, but he's still there, and he's a top 10 player in the league.
I'd
He's
probably put him
won.
top five at this point. Top, yeah, around there.
Yeah,
But he's
no,
been
he's
playing.
not even the best player on his own team though.
No, yeah, that's not fair. Shouldn't be fair. Um, let's take a pause on Vancouver for a second because we know the record, goal scoring record, now belongs solely to Ovi, Alex Ovechkin. Did you happen to get a chance to watch the
Yeah,
goal, the celebration, and all that?
yeah.
Yeah,
I was hoping for a bigger celebration from him. Yeah,
that was pretty good. They stopped it for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes
oh
and had a
no,
whole.
his initial one. I wanted him to have it
Oh, when he
over
scored.
the top. I know that celebration matched what he did in the fountain when they won the cup. Let's hoping he would slide the length of the ice or something. I think he kind of stopped like because he's been known
Yeah,
for his celebrations. But
yeah.
good on him. Yeah,
Scored from his office. That
yeah.
top of the left circle.
It was
Great
it
shot.
was kind of off a wrist shot. Wish it was a regular Ovi
One
slapper,
time.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but it was still from his office, scoring against one of his good friends.
Yep. Sorokin. They had a good laugh about it. He
Yeah,
thanked him for allowing him to score on him. Uh,
yeah. And then the celebration after the game when he went to his favorite restaurant, walks in the door, gets 2 beers fed to him.
yeah. See, that's like I was watching an interview today. Brooks Orpik was talking about Ovechkin because now Orpik works kind of in the developmental side for the Washington Capitals, and he's like, the young Washington Capitals that we're trying to like, in the development in the system that we're trying to teach them all these habits. We have to tell them Ovi is a very special case. You can't do what he does. He's a freak of nature.
Yeah,
You know, there's so many stories about his diet and him being able to, drink beer and like the average or the everyone else can't do that. They can't do those things because it's going to affect them on the ice. But Ovechkin, it doesn't affect
yeah.
him. He's a freak of nature.
Russian machine doesn't break, and when
No.
it does, off a major injury, he misses like 6 weeks.
Yeah. Breaks
Some
his
guys
leg
miss a
and
whole
hey.
season.
Yeah.
Russian machine is built differently.
It almost felt like when he had that injury, because he was playing so well before that,
Yeah.
that you were like, oh no, the momentum's going to be gone, and how
Yeah.
long he's going to be out for? He's not going to break the record. He comes back and he doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah, missed 6 weeks. Some guys
Yeah.
miss a whole season of breaking his leg. The guy, that Russian machine is incredible. He never broke down throughout his career.
I don't know who created him in a lab, but they did a good job. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congrats to him, though.
Still taking Crosby.
Yeah, I mean, Crosby's still a legend of a player.
Yeah.
But hey, they scored that many goals in the NHL in this era, and I guess he's part of the previous era too. He's the greatest goal scorer.
Yeah, he faced goaltending, unlike some of the guys in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
No more slap shots along the ice.
Yeah.
That would just beat a goal. He would just stick his leg out and hope he'd make the save.
Yeah.
How many times did we see Magagretzky score goals like that? It's like, up down the wing, little wimpy slap shot, scores.
Yeah.
Those goals would be goaltenders demotion to the AHL nowadays.
Yeah. Different era, different challenges, I think, in the different eras too. I'm sure Gretzky faced different things that,
Look at McDavid and Crosby score goals.
Yeah.
They weave in and out of four defenders and then find a sliver of the net scoring goals.
Yeah. It's a different game. The kids growing up, or they just learn things at a young age. They're working out, skills coaches, all that.
Goaltending wasn't invented until 1986, so it's
goaltending has come a crazy long way. Where now you have to be so deceptive on your release and your shot and screens. It's different game.
You get the size of a puck to score a goal. That's how much room they have.
Yeah, there isn't much room.
Yeah.
But congrats to Ovi.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, there's a debate saying how they should change the Rocket Richard trophy to him. I am against that. I think it should stay as the Rocket Richard trophy.
Yeah, it just sounds nice, and it's a tradition for so long. So I think I like to keep it.
Yeah. And
the Ovi.
Whereas I think some of the other awards, like the Conn Smythe, should no longer be against him. The Hart, the Lady Bing, and something a little bit more contemporary. Guys like Mario should have something named after him. Magagretzky should get something. So I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe something's for Ovi, but I don't think it should be the Rocket Richard.
Yeah. You know what? The tradition's been going for so long that I'm used to those by those names, so I got no problem keeping it the same way.
They changed the Lester B. Pearson to the Ted Lindsay Award.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, not the flashiest award compared to the.
Every NHL player should be thanking Ted Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
There would be no free agency and the money they get if it wasn't for him.
Right.
So that award should not be changed. Rocket Richard should not be changed. But there's tons of players that don't have awards named after him. Joe Malone was the original greatest player, and most people never even heard of Joe Malone.
Well, it's hey, I'm just I'm happy that Ovi did it this season, because you never know what. I mean, I think he's going to play next year, but you just never know and anything could happen, right? So now it's set in stone. It's happened.
I was hoping he would have scored a goal, didn't count. They do a whole celebration. It gets challenged.
Imagine a coach's challenge after that celebration. That would have been something.
It was offside by a blade.
Yeah.
Half a blade. They got to redo the whole thing.
And they finish the game and he doesn't score.
I really wanted that to happen, just because that would be so NHL.
Yeah. And credit to Ovechkin too for another reason, which is, this past 2 weeks he's had so many people and attention around him because he was getting closer to the chase. And for a lot of guys, that can kind of they can just grip their stick a little bit harder, knowing that they need just a few more goals. And if this thing starts dragging on for 2 weeks, and it's like, oh man, I really got to score. And it's like the last couple games of the season, there's all this pressure, but he just gets it out of the way. He's already passed it.
Yeah.
So that's
also, he doesn't play defense, so it's not like he has to worry about both ends of the ice.
For sure, but he still
got
took advantage of his chances
Would
you
put him in the top 10 of all time players of all time? Is
I
he
don't
in
know.
your top 10?
I don't know. That's too hard of a question. That's
Yeah.
I'd have to go through all the names and look at it and kind of
Yeah.
brainstorm. I can't answer that off the dome that
Mine
fast.
would be, off the top of my head, Lemieux, in no particular order. Lemieux, Gretzky, Howe, Orr, Beliveau, Richard, Crosby, Waugh, Brodeur, Hasek.
No McDavid.
He's not near ending his career yet.
No, that's true. I would already put him there. He's the best player
He's right
that's
up
ever
there.
played.
Yeah.
I think he's the best player that's ever played.
Skill-wise, yeah. But how can you
Yeah, and
beat what Mario did? Mario skated like he was 5'8", had moves like he was a tiny guy to play the power game. I think Mario's the best to ever play this, and he played through many generations.
yeah. I mean, it's just so hard to compare players too because of different, like you said, generations. That it's
Yeah. Mario
well, I'm
faced
sure.
goaltending.
Yeah.
He didn't have half his 3/4 of his stats against Civs.
I think once McDavid goes further along his career, I'm sure everyone's going to have him in the top 10.
Unless he doesn't win.
Yeah, I mean that's it's hard to even say that though because this is I mean I get it because how important winning is in the culture of hockey, but it's never about one player, so it's that's hard.
In football, Dan Marino is probably one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. In team sport, never won a championship. He does not get the same accolades as where the Steve Young, the Tom Brady's, Peyton Mannings, they all won multiple Super Bowls. But Dan Marino, all he won was isotoner gloves and a spot on Ace Ventura, even though he's probably, I would say, one of the top 5 quarterbacks ever to play this game. So if McDavid never wins, how do you rank him with the Lemieux and the Gretzkys and the Crosbys?
I don't know. I think you have to put in ability and skill as well. So
it's a team game where championships you play to win the championships.
Yeah.
So if McDavid never wins, it's hard to put him up there. Like Yzerman had that going for a long time. They didn't know how good he was, and he's a top 15 player ever. Those 3 goalies, they all won.
Maybe McDavid.
Yeah. And like I didn't know, like McDavid's great. Like I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw him. He has 1,000 points already. I'm like, man, that was fast.
Yeah. That's like a ceremony when someone's like retiring,
Yeah,
if they're lucky.
You're tipping near the end, and he's still in the middle of
28.
his prime.
Yeah, he's 28, so that's
he's nearing the end of his end of his super prime, but he's still in his prime.
Yeah, definitely still in his prime. The thing is with a guy like McDavid, because of his speed, his prime is going to be longer than a lot of players, right? Because when you lose that foot speed, sometimes your effectiveness just goes way down.
Yeah.
But because of how fast he is, I think he's going to be have a longer prime than the average player for sure.
Yeah. I think he's comparable to Sidney because Crosby could fly, and his lower body was, everyone since he was a kid said, man, he's got legs that are like tree trunks.
Yeah,
and
really strong, Crosby.
Crosby's still probably a top 10 player in the league right now, and he's ancient at 37 years old.
Yeah. Different styles, different games, but
Crosby took a lot of punishment too, so that
yeah. It's interesting too. Now Crosby's sort of like aura has really changed. I remember so many other fan bases would call him, crybaby Crosby and complain about him all the time. But that perception of him has slowly changed the more he's accomplished in the game and matured.
Yeah, exactly. His first couple of years, all he did was complain, and that seemed to follow him for a few years, even though he stopped doing it. But as he's gotten older, you don't notice it anymore. But he still does it. It's
some of it. I think he's matured as well. Of course, he's gotten older. He's won. He knows what it takes. But
he's had this pressure on him since he was 16 years old.
Exactly. And there's a target on your back. When you come in like that,
Yeah.
so hot, everyone wants to stop you
Yeah.
and kind of get in your face. So
Yeah, and rules, you were allowed to touch him, where now you breathe on McDavid, it's a penalty.
yeah, those top guys, they get a lot of attention. I mean, think about every single meeting of the opposition team beforehand. The coaching staff's going over this guy. This is what you got to do to him. Be physical on him. Don't let him do this. Don't let him do this. And these guys, Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, all of them, they doesn't matter. You can try to stop them. You throw an OV, you know where he's going to shoot from. People still haven't stopped it. He's 39. He broke the goal scoring record. So if they haven't stopped it now, they ain't going to stop it.
McKinnon's a little different story. Not many guys are 6'2" and skate like the wind.
Yeah.
He's probably the only guy in the league who can probably catch up with McDavid.
McDavid, yeah. Those two guys are fast. And they change speeds. I think that's a big thing too. There's other players in the NHL that are fast that can clock in at
Ilya Mikheyev.
Yeah, like Mikheyev. I remember how many breakaways that guy would get, but it's not the same thing, right? It's
What makes McDavid different than everyone is that the control he has at that speed.
Yeah, and the ability to make plays at that speed. That like his brain works in his brain matches the speed. He can make plays at that speed, and a lot of players when they go that speed, it's
and I think McKinnon is the only other person who can go at that speed and make that play.
Yeah,
they're plenty of guys with tons of skill and can move, but they can't make that same play. Marner can fly, and he can make tons of plays. Can he do what McDavid does? No. And that's nothing against Marner. Marner's an absolutely great player. I feel he's underrated as a player because he plays with Matthews.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Hopefully, future Canuck.
Everyone's a future Canuck, according to Victor.
Nope, just three. Mainly just two.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be great if Marner did, but the other two will be future Canucks.
Be interesting to see what happens to Marner in the off season. But that's a lot of stuff to sort before then. But for Vancouver, let's get back to Vancouver here. But good, we talked about Ovi. That's obviously got to bring that up. It just happened.
Respect.
Yeah, for the Canucks, I mean, there's no, look, you look at last season, a goal, or let's say 2 goals away from making the conference final to not making the playoffs. There's no real other way to say that this season's a failure, right? It's failed season.
Huge disappointment.
Yeah, huge disappointment. There's so many, locker room problems, injuries, just players that you'd expect more from not playing up to their capabilities. Sure, there's some bright spots, I think, with some young guys and some players that have recently kind of jumped in the lineup and made an impact.
Top 5 player in the league, was even better than he was last year.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like there's those moments. You can be positive in those areas and look at that, be like, oh, this is the glass half full, for sure. But overall, I mean, I think if this is a stream right after Game 7 against Edmonton, and I say, hey, by the way, next year the Canucks are not making the playoffs, it would be a very depressing down feeling after that. So
there isn't one player, there's only one player on the team who will get a pass. Is Quinn Hughes. Every other player on that team deserves blame on that. Every member of the coaching staff, every person of management, they all get the blame.
For sure.
Quinn Hughes is I will say he's the only one who will not get one blame.
Yeah, he did everything he could.
He was good in the room. He's come out. It's pretty much. It looked like he's taken Pettersson's side, so he knew what was going on in the room. Usually captain gets a lot of blame. Can't do it with him.
No, because your play dictates a lot, and if you're basically carrying the team on your back, you can't blame someone like that, right? It's more the supporting cast around him. Really, for the most part, didn't really play up to what's expected of them.
Yeah. Kevin might not get.
I'd say the goaltending. Yeah, the
Yeah.
goaltending, like
I'll give
Kevin
Kevin a
and
pass as well.
yeah, I think he, played as
Yeah.
well as he could. I mean, it's
Yeah.
weird to look at their save percentage and be like it's under 900 of the season, him
If
and
it if it
Demko. But
if it
but
wasn't
watching the
for
games,
Kevin,
yeah,
they'd be in the running for first overall
yeah, yeah,
on
for
the
sure.
bottom end.
Yeah,
But some of the young players have stepped up.
yeah. Now that they're getting
Man,
some opportunity, for sure.
Mancini's had his moments for the most part.
Yeah,
Atu Ratu's looked really good. That there's a chance that they might not even go out looking for a third line center because he wins a lot of faceoffs out there. If between him and Bluger are fluctuating back and forth between third and fourth line center, could be
mhm,
doable. Whomever's hot at the time,
yeah.
and they'll probably need a second line center, and then Elias Pettersson, and who they're not even sending back down to the minors once the Canucks season over. He's not expected to join Abbotsford for their playoff run, and because the team doesn't even see him as a prospect, they see him as a top 6 guy now.
Hmm. Yeah. Like there's those like Mancini. I think like that guy's also a really big player, strong guy.
Yeah,
And that's
he's a better skater than you would think at someone his size and
yeah, he's
his
six
game. And
three, two something.
he can actually move the puck and skate, which is good. After seeing Carson Soucy and Vincent Desharnais, it's definitely nice to see where DPD and Mancini and other DPD all being able to move the puck. And next year, there's a good chance, man. Tom Willander comes up and joins the team as well. Another soft, strong puck mover.
Yeah.
His college season is still going, so he should be ending soon. He could be up here for a cup of coffee or maybe join Abbotsford for a playoff run.
If I Do you know who has the best plus minus on the team? Just curious.
Pius Suter.
I was going to give you three guesses. That's your first guess. He's not
Yeah.
not the one. He's up there. Two more guesses. Let's see if you can get it.
Philip Hronek.
Philip Hronek is not there. He is -3 on the season. One more.
Kiefer Sherwood.
Kiefer Sherwood. He is not there. Where's Kiefer Sherwood? He is -2 in the season.
Yeah.
Kind of unexpected. Niels
Teddy
Höglander.
Bluger.
Niels Höglander, +7
Oh.
on the season.
Yeah.
Behind him, Marcus Pettersson.
The guy who was in the doghouse
In
for
the
the entire
doghouse, the
season,
one
for the
guy.
first half of the season.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 6 plus players on the team. You've said 2 of them. Can you name the others?
Who are the plus players so far?
Niels Höglander, and you said Pius Suter.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these.
Teddy Bluger. I know.
Teddy Bluger isn't one of them. No.
Connor Garland.
Connor Garland is not one of them. No. I mean, some of them haven't played as many games. Like they haven't played the full year.
Atu Ratu.
For the Canucks. Not Atu Ratu.
Elias Pettersson.
No, because he only played 23 games, but he's a -4.
Derek Forbort.
He's not. I'll just give it to you because maybe you won't get him. Tyler Myers is one of them at +2.
Oh, unsung hero.
Yeah, and he's had the most games out of the rest of them. Marcus Pettersson, he didn't play the full year for Vancouver, but he's a +5, second on the team. Max Sasson, +2 in 26 games, and Linus Karlsson, +3.
Yeah,
so after that,
to get those guys.
Yeah. I was just looking at that. I was just kind of surprised to see those players like Höglander at the top. Some of them, I wouldn't have guessed them if you asked me.
Outside, my first guess was Pius Suter.
Yeah, I mean that's a good guess. Like that's something I would expect, but some of them not.
First line center, Pius Suter.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's we're gonna talk about this more. I think in the coming weeks. He's how do you fix this team? How do you get this team to be a playoff team? Because there's a lot of holes.
They're in the mushy middle.
Yeah,
they're tradable prospects. You can't get rid of the young players like that. With Lekkerimäki, Willander,
no,
Pettersson,
for sure.
So even Sawyer Minio, who's a top prospect, played for Team Canada at the World Juniors. He might be a good lottery ticket. You don't know if you can get him, trade him. They've already traded one big lottery ticket in the Marcus Pedersen deal and Marvin Burnstrom, and I don't know if and he might end up being a decent player, and trading him away, it just that's a lottery ticket that you might not get back. And this management team has been known to trade a lot of draft picks, and I don't know if they can. If they make a preeminent deal and trade that first round pick, what if they win the lottery? There's a couple difference makers at the very top of this draft.
Yeah, I don't think they would trade their top first unprotected or their first round pick this year unprotected.
Say they jump from where they're going to a top 3, and Matthew Schaefer is available, and he is going to be a really good defenseman. I don't know if you can trade him just for short-term help to get a difference maker. And the American center, who I can't remember at the top of my head right now, he's been I think it was Matthew Bergens or something like that. He's highly rated. And Michael Misa, who's probably top 5 for a few years now. He was an exceptional player. He's looked really good. He has the looks of a good two-way center.
James Haggins, right? I think that's the American center, Boston College.
If any of those 3 guys are available.
But so
top 5 guys in that draft are all going to be difference makers. If you get a shot at them, I don't.
You have a chance. I mean, it's a long, a crazy long shot because of where you're going to finish in the standings. But here, management's going to make their decisions. But if you look at the team, last year felt like a step in the right direction where you're like, okay, this team is building something. And then this year happens. And then it's like, okay, are you building something or are you tearing something down? Because if it was, not last year, take away last year for a second, the year before, it was a non-playoff team, we knew that. So is last year
came in.
Yeah. Is last year just a blip, an accident, and what they were the year before and this year, and they just got to kind of slowly build and become a thing? Or is this, hey, this is a really down year, they're on the uprise? Like,
neither.
Yeah, well then that's probably the worst case scenario. Being neither is not, you're in a gray area where you don't know what you are.
Yeah.
And
last year everything worked out.
It went right. Yeah, everything.
Injuries, all the guys had great years. Everything worked out. Were they expected? No. Was this? I think last year the expectations were to get into the playoffs, and they exceeded it. This year was expected to be first, and they were a bubble playoff team.
Yeah.
So that's where. So they reversed situations, but now they're kind of in the middle.
That's the worst place to be. Because what do you do here?
Prospects.
Do you
don't have anything to trade?
They have like prospects, good prospects, but none of them are like all-star prospects that are going to come in and change the entire shape of the team. So
LeCare Mackey's great, but he's exactly like Brock Besser.
Yeah, he's not
trade him.
Yeah.
Tom Willander is Philip Hronek Part 2. Again, great, but you can't. What does every team look for? Right-handed defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get rid of Tom Willander. DP, he's an established NHLer now. Can't trade him.
No.
And then all their other.
But you can't stay the same. Unless you want to be patient.
Minio, he's your only guy. He's a good prospect, and maybe you can trade him. So just trading so many draft picks, you got to hit on those things. Like Vegas is going to run out of draft picks to trade fairly soon.
Yeah.
Same with Tampa. Tampa's they're running out of draft picks.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's the price when you win cups and you make those things. You empty the cupboards.
Yeah, the other 2 teams, they've won cups and they've emptied the cupboards, whereas Vancouver traded all these lottery tickets to be mediocre.
Yeah, it's just bad decision making. Really, is what it is.
A lot of it, again, to be on this management side, they've spent a lot of money fixing up previous management's
Yeah.
mistakes.
It's always how
Like
it is. Yeah. It's like presidents, and when they come in, it's about,
oh,
you
this
inherit something.
oh yeah, this past president, American president, inherited something good and tore it down. Where the
Yeah.
Canucks, Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, inherited a very bad house, and now
Yeah.
they've spent a lot of money trying to turn it into a fixer-upper.
Yeah. I mean, it's, their off season this past summer, they always say that free agency is the time where teams make the most amount of mistakes. There were some hits, Lankin and things like that. Some of the other.
DeBrusque was a hit.
I don't know if that was a hit. That was just like, I guess it's I don't know if you'd call it a hit. He is what you thought he'd be. So yeah.
Yeah, he's almost 30 goals. It's not like they're paying him $8 million.
No, yeah, exactly.
It's coming out of decent. DeBrusque is a hit. You knew what you were getting. He's done exactly what he's did. Desharnais was a miss, which everybody saw coming except for the Canucks.
I mean, that was the thing, is the back end was what the big miss was. The back end was just coming to the season, and you're just like, really? After last year and how far they went, you're going to have a worse back end? Like, it didn't make any sense.
Nothing against Derek Forbort. He's been great for the penalty kill. He's been really solid, but
you need a good top four to compete in the league,
Might as well have just kept Ian Cole.
Yeah.
Who's on pace to play for every NHL team at this current moment.
Yeah. Well, there's certain guys like Luke Shen just keeps getting thrown around every trade deadline. There's so many players.
And the thing is, these guys, it's not like they're bad players.
They're not. They're serviceable. They bring something, but they're bottom pair guys, right?
Yeah.
When you have bottom pair guys playing your top four, it makes it difficult.
And then when you sign guys like Desharnais, you gotta throw away prospects and first round
to get rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that Mikheyev trading a second rounder to Chicago, and that's come back, and that's going to be a pretty good pick now.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to be careful with who you sign in the off season, because if it doesn't work out, you got to pay. You got to pay the price. And in short time, Desharnais was signed. A few months later, he's traded, and they have to get rid of something because of a mistake.
He's on his third team this season.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he's in the league right now. He might be in the AHL.
Yeah, I don't know. Haven't kept up on what he's been doing.
Yeah, like I don't mind them admitting their mistakes, but it's very expensive. If it's like building a house, they built a wall that wasn't good enough, and now they have to rebuild that wall again.
Yeah,
they went with they should have gone with a granite countertop. Instead, they went with something with marble. Now they got to tear the marble, build it up with granite. There's hits and misses, but it all comes back to previous management. It's forcing this management to play with one hand tied behind their back because of all the mistakes they had made.
Yeah.
And who's the biggest blame? Ownership. Instead of doing the right rebuild, he wanted playoff money and instead of building a team. He's like, oh, make the playoffs, and just disappointment.
Well, I mean, they made the playoffs last year, right, and went pretty far. So I think
he kept his hands off. And
you weren't going to tear anything down there, but
he tried to play GM again this year, and this is what happens when ownership tries to play GM. Doesn't work. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. They just in mediocrity because ownership keeps wanting to play GM.
And now we see what how did they change? Well, there's decisions Vancouver's going to have to make. I guess we can talk more about in the offseason. But yeah, they got pending UFAs. They got to look at the UFA market. Of course, they need centers. There's not really top end centers available.
Centers, wingers.
You make trades. I mean, there's good wingers available, but yeah, not necessarily centers. Or on the back end too. I don't know if there's any like really top demon.
I think they're okay with defensemen right now with what they have.
I still think they should pick up a defenseman in the offseason.
it's a lot of money to spend on a defense.
That's true.
Maybe,
I mean, I guess it depends what their aspirations are for next year.
Between Pettersson, Hronek, and Hughes, that's a lot of money on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
As much as Myers, Pettersson, and Cini don't cost a lot of money, maybe Forborg signs a cheap deal because I don't have an issue with him being on that third pair. And maybe a Detective Cole McWard from the minors steps up, or Akita Hirose, who both might not be tendered, but it's just depth pieces now, because I think they feel comfortable having Myers at least playing a second pair.
Yeah.
Maybe another right hand, because I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Willander earns a third pair, but playing, and that's why Forborg coming back isn't a bad deal.
Like, I think Tyler Myers should be a third pairing defenseman.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of where he'd be slotted in well. I think that'd be a good position for him.
Yeah, but Quinn Hughes and Philip Hronek can hide the bottom pair because they play so many minutes.
Yeah, but you still you can't, if you ride your horses too much, it turns into like for the back end, a team A, team B, right? Team A leaves, team B comes on the ice. You have just two totally different things, and they still need, I think, a little, a bit of help there. But I don't know if right now is the time to really try to get a legit.
Not comparing Vancouver defensemen to Anaheim, but Anaheim won a Stanley Cup with Pronger and Niedermeyer.
Yeah. Well, they had other. Yeah.
Well, not on defense. They had.
Yeah, but their goaltending, their forward group was really good, right? Like, they had those guys on, they were entry level contracts at that point, right? Like, you had a lot of contributions, so it's can't really compare.
Yeah, if Hronek and Quinn can play somewhat like a Pronger and Niedermeyer, just eat up half an hour of Pettersson.
I don't know if you can put Hronek in that conversation with those two.
No, neither.
No. Quinn Hughes, sure.
Not quite yet.
Not yet, yeah. But
because I would put Niedermeyer and Pronger as two of the top 5 defensemen ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pronger, who's vastly underrated.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no other defenseman like him. Like, he's a guy who would strike fear into the opponents,
and then put up points at the same time.
Yeah, can stop you, can stop the top players. Yeah.
He won an MVP award.
Yeah. Yeah, he was so good. Just a unicorn out there.
Absolute dirty player.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no question. Yeah. That's what I said. He'd strike fear into to people because you didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah, I feel he's underrated. People talk about the Lidstroms and the Niedermeyer thing.
Underrated. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, I don't really see him as underrated, though, in my mind.
He took a really bad Edmonton team to one game of a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. He was a horse.
Him.
Yeah.
So good. I don't think I've ever seen a defenseman lead a team that far.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen forwards, but where a defenseman literally did everything and
he just played so many minutes too as a defenseman. You're expected to play more than a forward, but then
you're a difference maker.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we've babbled on long enough. I think here for this episode.
I want to give a big shout out to the Abbotsford Canucks. 12 straight wins, including the last 2 games against Laval, who's the best team in the AHL.
Pretty sure you mean the Abbotsford Blues, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, they
12-game win streak.
Way better.
Way better, yeah. Shout out to them.
They don't have to rely on Jordan Bennington to do anything. They have their own players.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's end it there. Let's again, we're on the YouTube at Canucks Chatter, on X Canucks Chatter. Follow us there.
Same and Twitter.
Unfortunately,
and Instagram.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these episodes aren't going to last that long because the Vancouver Canucks aren't going to last very long. There's only about a week and a half left of the season, and there'll be no live streams for us this year because of the no playoffs for Vancouver. But yeah. But anyways, we still got a couple episodes left, so there's lots to talk about. We'll dive a little bit more into the roster and what might happen, and try to enjoy the last couple games.
Yeah. Go Canucks, go.